Derek Bowen here with Texarkana News 12, here in the small town of Fouke to investigate local eyewitness accounts of strange happenings in the region. We are joined now with one of the witnesses, Travis Crabtree. Mr. Crabtree, can you tell us just as what's happening in the wilderness areas around here? Oh, you can just call me Travis. I don't know about this Mr. Crabtree business. My daddy don't even go by Mr. Crabtree. Far as I can tell, I was working the trout lines down at the creek and, catching catfish and buffalo, getting some good dinner eating going. These bunch of young'uns, they came up and said they saw some sort of wild man out in the woods. Figured they saw just old man Jones. Old man Jones, he lives out in the woods. He kind of keeps to himself. He's a feller that kind of limps because he shot off part of his foot during a boating accident. Heard that story 1,000 times, when you're out there with your boat. Yes, well, okay then. Can you tell us what the children saw? Well, I ain't sure, you know how kids are, they tell tales out of tale all the time. My mama kind of raised me better than that. She'd take a switch to me. I was out there telling tall tales to the neighbors, so that ain't my kind of business. I figure they might have seen the old woolly booger out there at the creek. He kind of wanders around there. He doesn't seem to bother anybody. He kind of does his own thing out there. Every once in a while, he'll run a dog off a trail, but that's all right. He ain't hurting nobody. I kind of leave him alone. He leaves me alone. You know how that goes. I'm sorry. I don't understand. What are you saying? Dogs, man. Hunting hounds. We got all kinds of them around here. You got your black and tans, got your American coon hounds, got your English coon hounds. Of course, you got the red bones down there, too. Me, myself, I kind of like the blue ticks myself. They're just a good dog. They may not have as much nose as a coon hound or a red bone does, but I tell you what, a blue tick, he's got a lot more spine on him. And around here, these parts and these bottoms out here, that's what you want in your dog. Once he gets on a trail, you want him to lock in. You don't want him shaking loose and getting squirrely just because he heard something or smelled something he didn't like. So that's why I like them blue ticks. They're harder to come by around here, but you get you a good one of them, you in the money. You'll get you a coon or two with that dog. You need that around these creeks. Fine. Thanks for your time. Can you tell us anything at all about the actual events with some sort of monster in the woods? Well, boy, I done told you. It's just the old woolly booger. Real story here is, mister, is they just wrote a new song about yours truly. Yeah, that's right. They wrote this folk song about me, just about my life and, kind of things I do. And, I figured they finally got it right, talk about something interesting. Somebody like me, you got yourself a woodland legend right here in front of you, and you want to ask them about some stupid creek monster. Where you going, man? Hey, before you go, where'd you get them shoes? Man can fix his hair in the toes of those shoes. Hey, city feller, let me hold $1 before you go. Come on now. Welcome back to the Wicked Wild, our first and maybe last G-rated movie review. Today we're talking about The Legend of Boggy Creek. We're getting ready for Camp Wicked Wild. This is our last main show before we get into spooky season. We thought we'd set the story straight on one of the true stories out there in Arkansas that's happening. So before we get started, I want to reach out to my hosts and kind of see how things are going. So we'll start with John up in Michigan. So
Howdy.
This was your recommendation. I just want that on the record. Is that right, John?
The best that we can suss out, because I totally forgot I
There's
recommended
only
this.
one person here not sussing it out, and that'd be you, John.
I totally forgot I recommended this, but I can
How
definitely.
convenient.
Wow. I sensed a lot of tension from Eli tonight already.
Well, I loved every minute of it.
I'm going to defend this baby to the death. I don't care. This is Blair Witch round 2, Dave. I hope you're ready.
I am
Oh,
prepared. My heart is prepared for that.
Mhm.
Although I will admit, this was a first watch for this one for me. This would have totally
wow.
made it off my radar. So I was pleasantly surprised. I will tell you, the one person I was thinking about the entire time I was watching this movie is who I'm going to introduce next, which is Jamie up in New York. And I just wanted to ask you, Jamie,
Was it
how
all the
long?
animal death? Is that what you were?
Well, that, but also I wanted to ask you how long you got through the movie before you had to turn subtitles on.
Oh, I couldn't get them on, and it was about 10 seconds. Or wait, as soon as someone spoke. That's it.
Didn't
I
understand.
literally kept clicking the CC, nothing would come on. And I was just like, well, I'm lost. That's it.
Yeah, I figured that was some good drawl there. There was some.
Good guess. It was literally 10, however long it takes for someone in that movie to speak.
What are they saying?
It was, that's my note right here, Dave, is what, because I know when it was. As soon as that kid ran into that room of the old men, I was just like, what language is this?
Mister Faster, Mister Faster. They done told me about what is he saying? It's like talking to Lassie, isn't it? So are you excited about spooky season? We're knocking on the door at this point. Things
Yeah,
starting to cool off.
Like, not to be that person, but I say all the time, like, it's always spooky season in my world, in my house. So like, nothing really like changes for me except that everybody else gets in the spirit around me. So
They finally catch up
everybody
with you.
join. Yeah,
They
everybody's
get on your level for a month.
yeah, for a month, and then everybody goes into fucking Christmas, which I can't stand. So
And then we've got Eli. So did this movie remind you of your hometown?
Oh
as
my
much as it
God,
did me?
every time I see those people, like this movie, like I've watched this as a kid. Like it was popular where I grew up, like amongst like people, because like it was like, oh, that could happen
amongst
here. Or
people, really?
people, like the people in our town, yeah. Like it was like, oh, it's just like people, like there are people like in this movie. I'm like, oh, that's so and so who lived over here. Oh yeah, so and so lived over here. Oh God, it's great. It's a little flashback
It sure was.
every time.
It's a good one. We're gonna get into it here in a minute. But before we do, as we have started doing here, we're gonna do a little fly synopsis. Meaning, I'm going to call on one of my hosts. They don't know which one, and they're going to give us a little synopsis on what's going on. So I'm going to let Jamie choose between her two co-hosts who she wants to.
Oh, you're not an option?
Oh, I'm an option. I'm always an option. But why would you want dog food when you could have pate with our other two hosts?
I don't speak French, but that sounded like a compliment. So
I don't know. I don't really even know. Like, all right, Eli, can you keep it short though, Eli? I know you like feel about this.
okay, first
Don't
off,
cut that.
You
Don't
guys
cut-
had me synopsize nope, and you were all like, "Oh, it was a really good synopsis," and now you're like, "Can you keep it short?" I will try my best. Okay, let me.
I mean, there's no plot here, so
hold on.
In the beginning.
All right, we ready? We ready? The Legend of Boggy Creek, or as some folks call it, Legend of Boggy Creek is a what some may call a mockumentary or a fake documentary about Falk, Arkansas, and their Boggy Creek monster, which is a monster that has plagued many individuals in the town. And the movie kind of follows a group of family and their dealings with the monster, and some other individuals and their experience with what's actually living in Boggy Creek. Was that short enough for you, Jamie? I just want to make sure.
Nailed it.
yeah,
That's right. Okay, just make sure.
yeah.
Well
Killed it.
done.
So that's really all you need to know about this movie. And we're going to get into some thoughts on it. And as we usually do, I'm going to let each of the hosts give their sort of 30,000 foot synopsis, personal experience with this movie, when you first saw it, what it means to you, and all that kind of stuff. And we're going to let John start with us tonight.
Oh,
A
excellent.
movie he
excellent.
doesn't remember that he.
I
He
don't
loves-
remember recommending it.
He doesn't remember
Um,
loving, but he does.
It's a weird relationship I have with this movie. So, anyways, I saw this when Joe Bob came back on Shudder for the first time, and I remember having a great time with it. And I think a lot of it had to do with Joe Bob. I was talking to a bunch of people on Twitter. I wasn't talking with you guys yet, just a bunch of people random. It was that live kind of moment, and I had a blast. So much so, I forced my mom to watch it. She had a blast with it because we were laughing at how ridiculous and absurd it was. I watched it this time. I did not enjoy it nearly as much. However, there are moments of ridiculousness that did bring a smile to my eye when they're talking about the bloodhounds. And it's just like, and then the cat that died out of just pure terror and fear of this monster. I mean, there are moments of just genuine, just it's got a charm to it, and it's hard to explain. It reminds me a lot of my grandpa because this would have been something he would have sat me down to if he knew about it. He'd be like, you watch this, like he would have thought this was like the best thing ever. Bunch of nature shots, a little bit of Sasquatch, a bunch of little country folk going fishing, hunting, all things he loves. I mean, this would have probably been close to a perfect picture for him. As long as it had a horse in it, that would have made it. But there's no horse, so it's not perfect.
That's all it needed.
That's it. So I know Eli's feels like I've betrayed him somehow, but after watching this movie, I can't say it's a good movie.
I don't think you betrayed me, John. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed in you.
Hey, that's fine. You can be I've disappointed many of people in my day, so you're just one of many.
Well, and I would say at this point, that's the default setting for yours and John's relationship as far as
Yeah, I'm
reviews.
just disappointed.
Disappointment.
Forever
Just
disappointing you.
I just one day hope to get you back out in the sun. Just one day.
So Eli, tell us about your experience with The Legend of
Oh,
Boggy Creek.
I absolutely adore this movie. My friends and I'm pretty sure my uncle introduced me when I was like 6. And like a big thing was like when me and my friends, like, you know, we'd stay over each other's houses or whatever. We would watch this movie, then we'd go walking out in the woods in the dark looking for Sasquatch. And then we'd be messing around and we'd be like, oh, so how many toes does it got? And stuff like that. Like we'd be like, oh, we'd be out there all night, a couple assholes just looking for Sasquatch. And like we loved the the Travis song. We would sing that song because it's like this movie. This movie is ridiculous. And like I give it a lot of credit because this is not something a lot of movies was doing at the time, like these kind of like mockumentary style. Like it was trying to be a G-rated spooky movie, and like, you could tell because it blatantly set itself up like one of those old Disney nature films with the songs like about the characters they're looking at, like the music, and like these just happy old guys, and like they all have the same names, and like, but like it's just the charm of this film and like the reenactments they show you. I just every bit of it. I love it. I still genuinely laugh. Like I laugh so hard when they sing the Travis song still every time I watch it. And
Because it comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I laugh every time when Travis rides his little canoe down to the weird guy in the shack. And they're like asking me like, I've never seen nothing down here. I don't know what they're all talking about. And like you look, he basically lives in like a dump. And then the ending, the ending always kills me. I laugh so hard at the ending because they're like they literally show like before Bigfoot couldn't open a door. And then that anything is 3 nights in a row, you can see him twisting the doorknob. And like, it's just, I love it. Like everything about this is ridiculous. And like, the town that it is in reminds me of where I grew up. Like there's literally people, like we used to joke, like when my friends and I would watch it, like, oh, that's so and so lives down on this road, or oh, that's the same shack, what's his name, you know, whatever. I adore this film.
I got one question for you. Like, did you have the doctor and the nurses in your town? Those were some of the worst doctors and nurses I've ever seen.
Well, so we had one doctor that kind of lived in our area. I'm pretty sure he died when I was like real young, but like a lot of people once like would just drive to the hospital because at one point he kept nicking his fingers and got gangrene in his own fingers and tried to take off the gangrene parts and then had to go to the hospital and get those fingers removed. So like a lot of people just quit going to him and like actually would just take the hour drive to the nearest doctor's office. So like that's what I'm telling you. Like this is the town I grew up in. The only difference was there was a big fucking haunted prison in the center of ours. Like it's the same town.
Okay.
I loved it.
So the diagnosis, he's in shock, and then the narrator comes over. He recovered quickly and moved the hell out of town, and then that's it. That's the story.
I'm telling you, like you would get it's we had like the Moundsville Penitentiary in the area, but like you'd have people like, oh, the devil resides in that place, and then you have people go, Nah, I never seen nothing happen there. I mean, there was a bunch of breakouts, but them prisoners knew not to come here because I put a buckshot in their ass. And they'd be like, and like that was that old guy by the creek. Like I loved it. Oh, I love it. Like I've been watching this movie since I like says I like was 6, and it's just got such a charm for what they're trying to do, and the fact that Disney didn't sue the pants off of them because they just some of the music just sound like direct cutoffs, and like the effects they try to do, and like the fact that Bigfoot had Farrah Fawcett hair. If you do look at something, he had that long curly brown hair. Some of the close-ups. I love this movie so much. I enjoy it. I watch it like once a year. Still, I love it.
It is the definition of 70s kitsch. I mean,
Hmm.
it's fantastic for that. All right, Jamie, what did you think? Have you seen this before? What did you think of this movie?
This was the first time I watched it, and it was completely unwatchable. Honestly, everything you guys are saying, I don't even know. Like, this was a chore to get through. Couldn't tell you a person's name in this movie. I couldn't tell you a line that was said because, like, I couldn't. No matter how hard I tried to pay attention to this, like, I was just seeing, and the only things I was seeing was a guy in a fucking canoe, some shitty music, and some scenery, and then a guy in a canoe again, and that's it.
That's
I
Travis
don't.
Crabtree.
This is the thing. When it was on our list and I decided to like Google what it was when you got like when it was coming up or whatever, the first three things I saw that it was G, that it was documentary style, and that it was Bigfoot, which I have zero interest in. Like I'm just not into the whole Bigfoot thing. Um, so I already was just like, that's why I was making jokes. You guys are like, I'm not excited about this. Like they're just like just like those things alone. Then it starts, and like you said, I couldn't understand them 10 seconds in. The music was atrocious, the scenery was atrocious, I just kept getting flashbacks to the narration to like those elementary school videos that they make you suffer through and that are not good, and you're just like I don't, and you're like dazing and you're just like doing other things, like daydreaming about whatever elementary school drama that you're thinking about while this is going. I just like, I mean, that's just, again, I have not seen this since I was little. I have not, there's no charm to this. This isn't even like an enjoyable hate watch. Like there's nothing funny in this to me. There's nothing like, oh, it's so bad, it's funny. It's so bad, it's good. Like it was just so bad. It felt like a chore. It felt like schoolwork. Like I felt like I was just sitting here forced to watch something that like, and I watched it and it never got better.
Not even in the climax of the film.
No, it was about the movie was an hour 27 at the time thing, because trust me, I counted down every minute that went by. And it was about an hour 20 longer than it needed to be.
Aww.
Sorry. I could not get through that. I mean, I did, but it's just
That's how much you
nothing
love
enjoyable
us, right?
here about this. Yeah, nothing enjoyable.
Well, this was also a first watch for me. I knew nothing about this movie. It totally not crossed my radar. But as soon as it came up, the first two things I thought, Eli, was the 70s Disney movies.
Uh-huh.
Because
Yep.
all of them, especially the nature-based movies.
Oh yeah.
See, I never saw these. I mean, I was a huge Disney fan. I never saw these 70s Disney
Oh,
movies.
they'd be on
Like,
ABC
great.
Friday nights.
They
no,
were
I
all the
get it.
time.
Yeah, I just never like.
And the
Never
other thing
saw
I
them.
thought of, and I know I'm the old guy on the podcast, but some of you may remember Mutual of Omaha's Wild
Yeah.
Kingdom. This is very Wild Kingdom as well.
Mhm.
So that's when it opened in the first like 10 minutes of it, there's just narration and these shots of beavers in the
Scenery.
pond
Yeah.
and salamanders and all that. And I'm like, ooh, I remember this. Like,
Hmm.
I don't remember this movie. I remember this time in history when this was the kind of movies that was cheap to make. And I really got really nostalgic. It kind of surprised me how nostalgic I got. I fully recognize and agree. First, it's not a horror movie. And second, it's a slow
Nope.
movie. It is a slow movie. But it's rural, southern, like life. And, I know Eli believes this too. What you think they're putting on is not a put on. That is how people in small towns live, and that's how they talk. And I know they used a lot of local talent. I mean, people that actually lived in Fire.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were not putting on or acting. They were just talking. they were fed some to tell your story, and they just did it. It came across as very delightfully real for me, having grown up in that kind of area too. I did see some things in there that were kind of cringy. Obviously with the animals. I mean, and you referenced the cat that was scared to death. When they started a shot on a dead cat's face, that was a lot. It's been a long time since I've seen something like that done. But I recognize that this was a different time in filmmaking, and these were very amateur filmmakers. And I guess that's the thing when because I watched this several days ago, and I've been thinking about why I enjoy it, because it's a dumb movie, but I really enjoyed the experience of watching it. And I realized it's because it reminds me of amateur filmmaking kind of at its peak in those 70s and early 80s, when people could kind of try and make their mark. I mean, the guy who directed this, he wasn't a University of California film student. He was a salesman, and he had this story that he wanted to tell, and he got out there and did it. And those are some of my favorite documentaries, is when they are amateurish, but they're trying to tell, or they're just trying to build some sort of story. And you just want to root for them, or at least I do. I want them to succeed. And this movie, for whatever reason, it hit at the right time. And we're going to get into some of that in a minute, but I enjoyed that part of me, obviously. And we're going to talk about this. It reminded me a lot of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which will come in a couple of years after this. Because it's similar in tone and kind of what they were trying to do. But I do want to talk more about that in a minute. But I also love the dog culture references in it. That dogs were part of the family. Dogs were, kind of what you depended on. So as a dog person, I kind of enjoyed that too, that this was my people talking about their dogs. You come after my dog, monster. And then it's serious. You come after my dog and I'll skin you like a cat.
I wrote down an example of the dialogue. Do you want to hear it?
Absolutely.
This is in quotes.
I can translate it for you if you want.
No,
Do
it's
you
not.
help?
It's not an actual. It's my description of the dialogue, and it says, "That's so and so. What's his face? Here he is doing something boring, and who cares?" That's what I felt like. That's what all the narration was in this.
Can I ask you a question?
He literally said it when a guy was just rowing a canoe, and he was
When
like,
did the
"That's so and
joy-
so," and it's like the 8th time I heard "that's so and so," and here he is
So-and-so
riding his
is
canoe
Travis
down
Crabtree.
you don't give a shit.
That was almost a like that line, like them doing that was in like all of those type of like Disney nature documentaries. They'd be like, look at Mr. Wilson, he's going down to the chicken coop to see if there's any eggs.
I get it, and
What'd you see there, Mr. Cooper?
I wouldn't enjoy those either.
That penny under your rock there? Oh, there is. Oh, huzzah, everyone. He found a penny. Like those like
That's
like
how they
things
work.
like we're like that. And that whole thing with Travis Crabtree and that every time I laugh so hard every time I watch it.
When he scrambles his eggs there on his campfire.
Yep.
We've all
And
been there.
Yep, gets in the world's shittiest canoe, goes down to visit the old weirdo who lives in the shack on Mother Creek,
He comes down and brings him tobacco and
and
smokes
sugar
every
and
once in a
some
while.
stuff.
Don't forget the sugar. He also brings him sugar.
My
and some
favorite
stuff.
line, and I had to, because I was laughing so hard, I had to go back and watch it like 3 times. It's just nonchalant. The narrator is introducing Herb Jones, and he says he's the local hermit who lives out in the woods by himself. He walks with a limp because he shot off part of his foot during a boating accident. I'm like, what?
You know what the best
That's
part
all
is?
you're going to give me of that story?
Listen, we used to laugh because there was a preacher in our town who shot off his ear when he was deer hunting and he was climbing over a fence. And that's all anybody ever knew. I was like, there he is.
Yeah,
Like,
but deer hunting, you're using a gun. He shot off part of his foot in a boating accident. Is not a sentence.
No, he's probably gator.
That's-
gator.
He's probably gator
hunting.
Yeah, he
I
was
just-
talking about hunting, like because he
I
talked.
just want that on a T-shirt.
Oh, see, I was like, oh, he was gator hunting probably because he was talking about gators. I was like, oh, he's gator hunting because he's like, I've killed everything down in here, gators, beaver. I ain't never seen no monster.
I just thought that was fantastic.
I love it so
man.
much.
So-
I love it.
As usual, I've got a few questions, but I do want to open up to the progenitor, the supporter, the evangelist of this movie, John, to ask his first question. Because
First question. Actually, because Dave and Eli can probably hopefully give a little insight on this. The one thing I noticed this time around watching it, because strangely I've seen this now for the third time, probably won't watch it ever again, to be honest.
Sure, John.
I'm serious. I don't have a reason to go back now. I've
Right.
seen everything it
You
has.
didn't enjoy it. Wink. I got you.
Oh no, there was enjoyment, just not the enjoyment
Right. Hey,
you
no,
have.
no, I get it. Right. No, yeah, right. Wink.
This is great radio. But anyways, no. What's with the parents literally doing nothing and then telling the kids to do everything all the time?
That's farm
That's
life.
life.
Yeah.
No, explain that. Like what like
They got
literally
because
she's laying in bed within like inches of the window, but she's
First,
yelling
wasn't
to-
that like her sister?
she's gonna
wasn't-
she's gonna wake the baby up.
I don't think there were any parents in that house. I thought they were two sisters or something.
She was staying with her.
It was
Yeah.
mother,
Her
two
older
daughters, and the
sister.
baby.
Yeah, and she didn't want to
forget the
wake the baby
familial
up.
relationship.
I can't believe that I actually knew that fact. By the
The
way,
person in the other room
Those
is
are
to go
brain
get the
cells that are
blanket.
locked in.
Yeah.
Now, Jamie.
Right. Yeah, because she's not gonna wake the baby up because then
she was holding the baby. Yeah, she was like
she
laying,
was laying
in bed with
holding
the
the
baby.
baby.
That's in this whole movie. That's what you question: the fact that she asked
No.
a girl who wasn't doing anything
not
to go
the- that's
close
not
a
the-
window.
That's
John, are
not
you
the
telling
only-
me that you and your dad have been sitting on the couch at the same time and he hasn't said, "Will you go get me a beer?" out
Isn't
of
it the
fridge?"
point of
No.
having children?
Exactly.
Like, don't you have children to have
Oh,
servants?
Especially in the rural areas, it's even worse. 'Cause, like, I can't tell you how many times it would be like, hey, I would just get home from like a wrestling match. It's like 9:30 at night in the middle of winter, and like I'd be wet, covered in sweat, and from wrestling, and I would get out of the truck and I'd go, well, better go get a couple bales of hay and throw out the cows. There's no street lights, there's no field lights, and I'm trudging through the dark in a field, dragging hay bales, covered in sweat, soaking wet, middle winter, it's 22 degrees. Like that's what you did.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the only incident. There was also the incident where the monster was outside the door
Yeah.
or the house, and the mom's like telling the boy, "Go get the kids." You're
Yeah.
gonna send a kid to go get other kids while you just stand there and listen for the monster. You're
John,
not like
John, you don't understand.
I don't.
In the woods, the beauty of being the mom and the dad is you can make as many kids as you want. You can replace the kids. So you send them out there.
Mhm.
If they get got, that's okay. You've got 12 more just like them.
I think that goes. I think that goes in the city too. Dave,
Listen.
just saying. Just
I was 16 in hay fields, and like they'd be brush hogging and go, you get the snap. Copperhead, Copperhead, go move it. Get out of here. Copperhead could bite somebody. Get out of here. And so I'm like 16 with a poisonous snake that I have to now wrangle, get out of the field before it bites somebody. Like they don't care. Like they don't care.
And
Like,
when they
that's-
say
that's
somebody, they
life.
mean somebody that matters.
Yeah, not me. I'm replaceable. In 16 more years, they can have another me.
And John, all joking aside, that is country. And I know we had the conversation on Slack or Discord or one of our platforms. You had asked that question, and it didn't even show up on my radar. That's just the way kids are. And honestly, part of it is because, without joking, by the time a dad gets to the age of 40s and 50s, his back's probably gone out. He's
Knees are gone.
what we
These people
call,
were in their 20s.
well, but they work hard, and I don't know. Have you heard the term bone tired? I mean, bone
If I
tired is
understand,
a real thing.
if I understand the term, I've been there. But I understand it if they're doing something else, but they're literally just standing there.
It's a different. I think it. Well, okay, well, maybe this will answer your question. It's a different life because kids are. It's not. I would say the same as city or suburban kids. When you're young, like when you're in that area, because of just where you're at, like you kind of grow up a lot faster, and like the responsibility factor is a lot higher. Like you're like most kids.
some
like,
people would say city kids grow up a lot faster. I'm sorry. Then there's different different to what you're saying. I get it. Like there's
Different
different,
measures.
responsibilities and
different
different
measures,
measures
but,
of growing
like-
faster. Maturity level, I don't know. I would say some city kids got it.
I don't know because because you have kids like 12 years old who, like okay so like where I from like I was getting up before school. I mean our school bus we were on the bus 2 hours one way, but I had to get up, make sure early enough so I go get the chicken eggs and get those all taken out of the hen house in the mornings because you don't want the chickens You don't want them hatching or anything, or you didn't want them fucking around and breaking them. You know, you got to throw hay, and grain out the cow and stuff. And like the kids do that because normally the parents are on their way to work, and they're on their way to work sooner than when you're getting on the bus. Most of us know how to use a gun when we're like 10, 11, 12, or hunting by then. Like, in which like some places like us, like that was an additional food source. Like there wasn't a lot of money where we grew up. So like you're like the kids are like there's aspects of that, like they're helping cut hay, like with hay and stuff like that. So it's just the parents get to the point where like when you're like 10 or 12, like they're just gonna say like do something, and you're just gonna do it because that's how it's worked. Like,
well,
it's
and
not,
there's
it's
a
like-
work
Yeah.
culture too. By the time you get to the age of 10, your parents are going to start getting concerned that if you're not doing anything, you're kind of a lazy bum.
Yeah.
So they're going to want to work you to kind of put some sandpaper into you too,
Mhm.
or at least that's the way you grow up in those kind of places. I was driving a truck when I was 9. I
Yeah.
was driving tractors when I was 8 and 9.
Hmm.
Not because it was an exciting thing. It's because the truck needed to be moved down and the hay needed to be got in.
Mhm.
And my dad knew I was too small to be pitching hay on the trailer at 10, so I could drive the tractor and he could pitch hay.
Yeah.
And then I got big enough, and by God, I was off the tractor and he was back on the tractor and I was pitching hay.
Mhm. I mean, when I was 12, I was just small enough to fit in the spring house, and it was my job to clean the snakes out of it because no one else could fit in the spring door. Yeah, the spring door. Like I was just, I mean, was there poisonous snakes in there? Oh, I'm sure, but I was the only one that could fit. And you didn't want to
All
drink
the
dirty snake
examples
water.
that you both have provided, literally the parent was doing something actively. In this situation, the parent was doing.
Well, you have to understand, like they think it's coming in the door. Now, granted, like this movie's silly. Don't get me wrong, this movie's silly. It's totally silly. But like in my mind, that makes sense because whatever it is messing with the door. So they're gonna stay to take care of when it comes in the door, and really like you're still helping, but the safest thing for you to do is gather up the other children because they're gonna deal with what's coming through the door.
And let's be honest, if we're talking about the climax in that house at the end,
Oh
we
my
all
God.
know that Bobby was kind of high strung. He was the one that if something was going to get somebody, we're all okay with Bobby taking one.
When he
It-
comes
it-
out of that bathroom,
When he's running, is that what the one with his pants down? He goes sliding through.
Yes.
That's
I
Bobby.
laughed so
Bobby!
hard when he comes sliding out of that bathroom like he's running across a slip and slide. And his like pants are down, his long underwear. Oh my God, I love it.
That was his
Yeah,
big
that
one,
was
man.
totally unrealistic though, because the flap was still up.
Oh,
There's no
yep.
way he was using the bathroom.
No.
That's
'cause
BS right
I'm
there.
more concerned that he sat down and came out that fast because I'm thinking, well, you weren't even going to take that some bitch off to go.
You were going to have a tail if that was real life.
Yep. That's why. You know what though? I mean, let's be honest.
You're welcome,
that's why.
John.
That's why we quit wearing the flap ones. Get the 2-piecer. Because then when you're in the woods, you can just real quick easy access. That's easy money right there.
Exactly. Get covered back up
Oh.
anytime you get a woolly booger.
You get them 2-piece long johns, you're doing all right.
All right, so I have a couple of questions. My first one, and I'll start with Jamie, but obviously this is for everybody. I have my own opinion, but why do you think a movie like this got made? Why do you think this movie got made?
Oh, I have no idea. I question why this movie got made. He must have someone must have just financed it for him. I must have been paid out of someone's, and there's nothing here. Like he's just like, you just give him a camcorder and go out into the woods. And like you said, they're locals and they're whatever. He just had them say a bunch of gibberish, same shit over and over again. And like, I have no idea why this was made. You guys probably have more knowledge why this made, because this also does not appeal to me in any way. As a child, as now, as whatever, this does not appeal to me.
Totally
in
a
any way.
miss.
So
Got it.
yeah,
John, Eli, what do you think?
I assumed he knew someone. He paid for it himself.
He had a trucking company that he partnered with that actually underwrote it. John, what do you think? Why does a movie like
I
this get
know
made
Joe
in the
Bob
early
talked
70s?
about it, but I can't remember it to save my life. My only guess is he had a fondness of the tail of this monster, but
Yeah, like the same way you got, like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, I can only assume that this is his culture. Like, this is just like his culture or stories. And like,
Story
this
he
is just,
grew
he
up
wanted to, yeah, his story he grew up with. Like, I agree. Like, so my thing was just like, why it actually became a movie is beyond me. But I think it was made out of a passion project, if you will, of.
I don't know the full answer to this, but I'm going to guess. I'm guessing you looked this up, Dave. If I had to guess, it's two-part. Right. It's something he liked, and he got people in the town involved because they thought it'd be cool to be in a movie and it's a local boy. But in my mind, it's to bring business. It's the same reason people used to do in Moundsville. People who gave three shits about that prison were lore tellers and masters of the tales of the haunted prison because it brought them money and business into an area otherwise would not get it.
Mhm.
Like that town leans hard into two things: that prison and the fact that Brad Paisley was born there, because it's the only two things bringing money to that town. So I'm guessing it's along the same lines, the same reason why they did this.
Are you telling me there's no aliens in Roswell too?
That's the, whoa! Watch yourself.
Yeah,
Watch
you're
yourself.
mixing fiction
Whoa,
with reality there, John.
Whoa.
Let's not
That's
let's
real
not go
close
there,
to
please.
Skinwalker talk there too. So let's be real careful what we say moving forward.
Treading a fine line in dangerous times, my friend.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't a legend about to be ruined. Okay.
No, I didn't look anything up. I did think about it because obviously this, and the reason I asked the question is I don't know that this movie gets made these days.
Sure, it's called the Blair Witch Project.
That's a different thing. But we're gonna talk
Sometimes
about
you
that in a
just
minute.
say things, and I don't know if you know what you say, but just
Oh, I
say
know. I'm fully aware of what I'm saying.
But as a kid of the '70s, like I said, what I think is these are the kind of movies that were easy to make on a budget and to turn around and sell to somebody like Disney or one of the major networks for a quick turn. What I think, and I agree that, who was it that made this thing? Let's see. Yeah, Charles B. Pierce. I think he was probably from the area, and this was sort of the big legend of that area. So you want to work with what you know. You want to build a story about the stuff that you know about, but you also want to work in an area that you're familiar with. So this was a story that was easy for him to make. And just the way he went about making this movie is so indicative of those kind of movies that you almost have the sense that his intention all along was to make something cheap and sell it to a network or Wild Kingdom or Disney or one of those kind of things to make it. And as I thought about that, I realized, and we were talking about earlier, we were talking about some of the movies or shows that are on streaming now. But something like this that has no backing or has no sort of demand from audiences, it becomes really hard for something like this to get made unless, like we talked a few weeks ago, you're somebody like Jordan Peele attached to it. Getting something this obscure and nuanced made is nearly impossible, which is kind of a shame. But that's sort of the charm, to use your term, John, of a movie like this is you wouldn't go looking for this movie. I'm obviously, I like I said, it was never on my radar. But when you see it, you can kind of appreciate that there was passion and there was love kind of built into a movie like this.
See, I would. You say this will get made today. I would argue that this was kind of its time because there's stuff like this on YouTube right now.
That's
if this
true.
was today, that would be on
that would be
YouTube.
the media.
That would be some guy who made it on YouTube, and them going around and doing this. But I'm glad it happened when it did because they tried to make it legitimate.
Mhm.
And like those people in that town, like you have like you get rural people there not into artsy stuff, and you said like, hey, we're gonna try to make movie about our town because you saw them guys when they were at the store, they were wearing their Sunday's best.
Mhm.
And generally those guys aren't wearing that in the store. They've got their hay shirts on or overalls or jeans. And like that guy was literally wearing a sweater in the store drinking coffee while the old men were smoking and chewing their tobacco.
Yeah,
That
That's
did
the
not
guy that
happen.
spit on the floor.
Spit
That
in the
guy?
wood
Yeah.
stove. No, he
Yeah,
spit in the
he
wood
spit in the
stove.
wood
Oh,
stove.
he did. Oh,
Yeah,
whatever.
Burn them. You don't spit on the floor. Spit on the wood stove.
Same thing.
That's a good way to get smacked in the mouth if you
Yeah,
spit on the
whoa.
floor. Come on.
Whoa.
I don't mean you, Jamie. I meant
Yeah,
if somebody
that guy.
did that.
Don't worry.
I need
I'm
to
not
be real
spitting
clear
on the
about that.
Yeah, especially you don't do that inside unless you got a can, a cup, or wood
Exactly.
stuff.
Or a
Especially when you're
spittoon.
wearing your Sunday best.
Yeah, especially when you're wearing your Sunday best. That's why he was smoking a pipe instead of a rolled cigarette because you know we get the ash on his sweater. We know these people, Dave. We know these people.
We are these people.
Yeah.
So Jamie, do you have any questions or anything you want to talk about, or is
No,
this
not
just
at all.
It's a
This
total
was just a
different-
complete, yeah. Like I said, I'm so not even trying to be a dick. I just like there was nothing. I know the word charm has been thrown out or funny. Like none of those things hit for me. This was not a like it's so bad. Oh my god, I'm having so much fun. Like there was nothing about this that I could even like call out as enjoyable.
Well, and I can see John's point. This would be a totally different experience if you were watching it with your buddies and kind of riffing off the movie. So it is different when you're just sitting in a room by yourself watching it, which was my experience this time too. But I can
Yeah, mine
totally
too.
see how if you were watching, especially the Joe Bob version of this movie where he's riffing on it and your friends are all kind of commenting on it at the same time, it'd be a good movie for that.
It could be a different experience than
There's
like
a lot of dead time and you
trying to
fill it in.
engage in it. Yeah, I'm trying to sit here and engage with it, and I'm just like
It's
I
giving you nothing.
can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and Joe Bob also does a musical number with one of the Sam Squanch Hunters that comes on, and they do a duet.
Sweet. Is it the Travis Crabtree?
Oh my
Of
god,
course
it's the
it
best
is.
song of the movie.
I'm sure you
Best
can
song
find that
ever.
on YouTube, but no, that is 100%. The Joe Bob version is I think the best way. If you dare to watch this, that is the way to watch it.
See, I don't know. I would say movies
You were
like this.
you were like what, 6 when you saw this?
Yeah, I think it's
first time.
different. Yeah, but that's no. But so how do you here? Yeah, like how do you recommend it? Someone like me. I think John's right though.
Here-
Like
here's
someone
the-
like
here's
me,
the-
I'm not gonna. As
See,
an adult with no history in this, like I didn't grow up there because I feel like a lot of your and Dave's fondness for this has to do with culture and experience, and I have zero of that. I like, like also didn't, as a huge Disney fan, like didn't see these Disney nature documentaries, or if I did, I've totally forgotten them. Not enough to like have any kind of recollection of them or connection. So like there's like nothing to sell it on besides maybe like John watched it like with Joe Bob and getting another perspective or another, because I've watched plenty of Joe Bob. I don't know how I actually missed this one, because like since he's been on Shudder, like I've watched like almost all of them or something.
Yeah,
so
this
like
was on the first 24-hour marathon.
so it could have been, it just could have been when he
came
came, yeah,
quick
yeah,
because
so,
the rights.
So that could be also be it. Like, so
Mhm.
it's just like that would be the way you'd have to probably sell it on me to watch it, is with like a group of friends and with his commentary and information. And like, so I like the shit he pulls and the information he gives you and like what he, so it would change.
And this
the whole
movie is primed for a Joe Bob kind of
Oh,
situation.
this is so right in his wheelhouse. But
the only thing I would say about this movie is this is one of those movies that say you have to go in with an open mind, because there's a bunch of little, like there are like really funny little parts in like scenes. And I think like the only thing I would say is like I started watching when I was young with my friends, but there's times I watch by myself and I catch things that crack me up, because like there are scenes where that Bigfoot guy's in the background in the woods that he's not supposed to be, and it kills me every time.
Yeah.
There's one scene where you can tell he's trying to take his helmet off and didn't realize he was in the shot, and I laughed so hard because the hair is so long in this Bigfoot thing. I died. Some of the lines that people say, I also laugh so hard because the guy that does a narration does the voices for most of the people in the movie during the reenactments, and he's like the parts where he's having a conversation with himself as other characters, I die. And like there's just these little like nuancey little funny things that are hidden throughout it, and I feel like if you're watching that setting, you're gonna miss that stuff. And I think a lot of that, yeah, I mean there's a cultural charm to it with me and Dave, but I think there's just a charm for what they tried to do. They tried to make this like little serious little documentary about the Fawk monster, and like the whole little town got involved of 200 something people, and like it's really funny. Because here's the thing too, I 100% that dead cat was not a real cat, because did you see how long its fucking teeth were? It was like a saber-toothed tiger, and like that killed me, because they're like oh, this will look like that cat, and its teeth are longer than my fingers, and they're like it's a kitten. And then like that scene in that beaver, that was they had a beaver hat and they tried to make it look like a beaver in his boat. And like there's little stuff like that, if you can sit there and kind of watch it and catch these little things like that, like that's a lot of the charm, because it might be the worst movie ever made.
Well, I have to say the line about when he said, well, when I grew up here, there was like 300 people. There's probably just about that many now. It's like,
it's oh my god,
is that a line worth saying?
yeah, like what?
And like a lot of those songs that they wrote for this, I die because they went to some guy who sang in the church, and he literally listened to a lot of these these nature documentaries. But that every time when Travis is camping, and he's sitting on the hill, and they start with Travis Crabtree, I laugh out loud every
I
time.
think there's a
So
fine
good.
line, and it's just different people. But I think there's a fine line, and this isn't like insulting. I'm just saying there's a fine line between where you find it like silly funny like you do and cringy, and I was on the cringy side. Like
Yeah.
I just couldn't find this like endearing and like funny. Like I was cringing. Like I cringed from the moment he even just said this is a true story, something like that. I roll my eyes to myself and I was like, this is what we're in for. And the moment the narration starts, I was just like, holy shit, this
Not
is like
mad, just disappointed.
yeah, I know. So
But to
as
Jamie's
if I have
earlier-
not disappointed you many a times.
Eli's forever disappointed. We're
Yeah,
used to it.
he likes just he's
Not
just,
mad, just disappointed.
Yeah.
yeah,
But
it's
no,
fine.
To
I'm
Jamie's
fine.
point about the culture thing, like my mom's side of the family, they're from Tennessee and Kentucky. So like I have that kind of cultural like touchstone, like in the background of my
You
head.
know we have the best hunting hounds down here in Tennessee.
And Dave, with that, like you need to dive in on those hounds, because when he talks about how that monster goes after his dog, he's gonna.
But like those dogs, like that dogs, like in like a farm are like family because like they do more than just your dog. Like they protect your
Eli,
cows. And
you
stuff.
don't have to explain this to
Telling you,
either
man,
myself or
dogs.
Jamie or Dave. We know.
Listen,
we
man,
treat our dogs
you
better
don't
than
I
even
we
treat
know.
my
ever
dog
treat
better
you.
than I treat anybody on this.
Oh, you know what? You're right because my dog does remember when it does stuff. John,
Your dog does stuff like what?
when it remembers when it does stuff. It remembers when it says and does things.
Oh, if you're talking about me recommending this movie,
I am
that's,
talking
if,
about
if that's the dig,
Try
trust
to say
me.
what I'm talking about. Hey,
Wow,
not mad, disappointed.
wow, I haven't seen him this salty.
So-
Like, actually, you know what? He's like kind of salty, sassy. He's not like salty, angry. Like
No,
was
he's
about
not,
antlers.
like-
He's happy
yeah, it's
salty,
not-
and that's
yeah,
the best
it's-
Eli.
Yeah.
I watched this movie twice before this. I watched it again today.
My God, Eli.
I love this movie so much.
Well, and like you said, there are little things that were not intentional that are hilarious. I was watching and I got tickled. You know, we've been talking about the three women in the house with the baby and them going back and forth. And put a blanket on that window before the baby catches cold. And she, all right, I'll do it soon. And then she sits down with that book
She goes back to read it.
and literally is turning the pages backwards. She's not reading that book unless she's reading it in reverse.
And that always cracked me up because that was me, not reading it backwards, reading it the right way, but like that was me growing up. Because they'd be like, because I like to read, and like that was not really a thing. They'd be like, "Hey, good dude." So I'm like, "All right, let me finish this chapter." And I'm like reading
That I
like Lord
just
of the
started.
Rings. Yeah, like these chapters are like 11,000 pages long. Like, hold on, I'm almost done.
She gets so sassy about it, though. I just loved it. I got
Baby gonna
But I-
catch a cold.
Exactly. We don't want Doc Parson out here and have to explain to him that you wouldn't put a blanket on the window.
And
And
then
that-
you got to scream at her because she passed out.
Oh, it's so I love it. But that scene at the end when old boy is wrestling around with that squatch and he's just spinning in its arms, I die. Oh my god, I laughed so hard.
The like
And when-
the quick shots that you
Yeah,
don't see
he's like-
anything.
he's like,
it's just
"Whoa,
like jagged, like
like rolling in its arms, and that when they're willing, they get him to the hospital, and they're willing him, and he's just like, I laugh so hard. And
Bobby
then I
made
was-
a full recovery and moved out of the area.
I love it.
I like how they said quickly. Like
Exactly,
it was
quickly moved.
No, quickly recovered. Like it wasn't a
No.
big deal. Like, he went to the hospital.
He's
Wasn't a big
fine.
deal.
Yeah, they're fine. He's all right. Yeah. They gave him a little. They gave him a little tea. He was all right, good to go. And then the one thing I was surprised no one said anything about was the sheriff just giving them a gun.
Oh yeah, giving
But
it
that
his
was
gun.
good.
doesn't
He
surprise
isn't,
me.
Yeah.
That
at all.
doesn't surprise
Done.
me at all. Well, I
Oh,
don't
see, I figured that was. I figured that'd be the.
know. I just
you
figured
two
they
would say
just
that.
hand out guns there. I mean, it's the 70s and it's in the middle of nowhere. Like I just assume they just hand them out like it's candy.
It's
Well,
the
you
nicest
let him
landlord
borrow
they
it.
have,
Like,
too.
No,
would
that was
you
the
like
sheriff.
one? Would
That
you
was the
like
landlord.
one?
That was the sheriff. Yeah, sure. Yeah, that
No,
was the
wasn't
sheriff.
there a landlord who said, "Oh,
Well, they
hang
were
out"?
going to get.
They went
their-
to get the landlord.
They were
Yeah.
going to the
Yeah.
landlord. See,
Oh,
even I
okay.
knew this part. I don't know how.
See, Jamie, you love this movie.
Yeah.
You just
Oh
haven't,
no.
it hasn't caught up with you. Yet.
I think I paused it like a total of 27 times and trying to like
Well, it sounds like this movie.
refocus.
This movie is living rent free in your head, though, it sounds like. It's got first and last. It's there forever.
Oh God,
This
I
is
need
the-
to watch something immediately to get this out of my
This is the
head.
great grandfather of the Blair Witch, and it didn't like what you did to a grandbaby.
It is a great guy. I could
Well,
see
to
that.
that point, and that's one of the
Yeah.
questions I had, and I think it's the reason it got put on our list, John, is this is
Okay.
a movie, and I did go back and listen that you referenced this movie in the Bell Witch episode.
Oh, okay.
Do you
Then
consider
that's how it
this
was
sort
made.
of a prototype of the found footage movies? Because I fully agree. This is the formula. If it wasn't the first, it was one of the first. This is the formula that a ton of made-for-TV, paranormal TV documentaries, and
Unsolved mysteries,
docuseries,
baby.
they've
Oh,
used this formula because it's cheap. I mean, you get local people to just tell their story and you point a camera at them.
Yeah.
And sort of you get this, first you get this slice of Americana kind of feel for an area, which I always enjoy, even on Ghost Hunters and stuff like that. When they interview the locals, at least you get the fun interaction of this is what a local culture is like. This is how they talk and this is what they do. So this movie seems like it was early in that prototypical kind of how do you make those things work. But do you think it's is it a found footage movie, which
no.
we can talk about, but is it the same formula that you reference something like Blair Witch using 20 years later?
It's in that lane, I would say.
The
for sure.
beginning of Blair Witch is just like this movie, except that it's except that it's shot shaky cam instead of steady cam, instead of documentary style. I mean, it is supposed to be documentary, but it's supposed to be that we found the footage of a documentary before it was neatly and cleanly, right, edited together. Is that the whole? So this is a neatly and cleanly. If only this guy had the foresight to make this found footage in a way, because like that whole, he could have been in the forefront of that whole genre of, but the whole beginning of Blair Witch reminds me of this, with them talking
This
to
is
the
the kind of movie
townspeople
they were
and
planning on making.
yeah, but
And I think you also have to
they're not the only two movies to do it. I'm just saying, like,
yeah.
you know,
But
I
it
think
is a formula that it's well
Yeah.
worn territory now.
Yeah. And I think you have to put this movie in context too for the time when this came out. This probably didn't have a lot of advertising, if any. And this was just like a weird watch. It happened maybe to be on TV one night, or like they found it in a video store. But like I knew people that watched this when it first came out, and they were like, oh, I was terrified because I thought this was real.
like the
Like,
Blair Witch Project. How did this come out?
Oh, it did go in the theaters.
Did it go in
This is-
theaters?
Had
This
a
is
small
where I
run.
wish we had the Joe Bob stuff.
This is an interesting thing, and it blew my mind when I looked up because I asked that question: how did it get distributed? This was one of, if not the first movie in what was called the drive-in movie trend. This was a movie that was sold specifically to drive-ins because it was cheap. It didn't have a big licensing fee with one of the big studios, and they could just burn that bad boy and churn it out to drive-ins and throw it up on the screen. And of course, then all you've got to do is make a really cool poster, and people will drive in and see it.
The poster is cool.
But this is they say this is one of the first movies, and movies that came after this that were called drive-in movies that were all based on or were true stories were movies like Walking Tall, Texas Chainsaw Massacre that we talked about, Macon County Line, and you know the guy who made this then went on to make The Town That Dreaded Sundown, which is in the same kind of formula as this. So this is sort of the start of that trend.
But like people were like, this like seemed real, and like people were this movie scared people because they're like people were like, holy shit, Bigfoot's real.
They
Like-
saw what was put on that screen, and they
But
thought
you have
this
to
was
understand though,
real.
it was presented in like the early 80s. It was presented as a documentary.
It's not early 80s,
70s.
70s.
Yeah.
Just
Or-
Before
or
my, it's
70s,
yeah, like it's before
But-
my time. I
Yeah,
mean,
70s, but I misspoke. But 70s,
you-
but like it wasn't like people thought like this was a documentary. It was presented like those Disney documentaries. Like they wouldn't know.
Well, you just add in the factor of the resolution, probably in the projectors at a drive-in, and the sound. It all was terrible.
Right.
So like all the
It doesn't matter.
like all the crazy edges and special effects that we
Yeah.
probably can see clear as day now. I mean, it looked. Oh my
They
gosh, that was
couldn't tell
real.
that this Squatch had Sammy Hagar hair. Okay, they couldn't tell.
And they
Like-
didn't care because they were necking in the back of the car.
Yeah. And like
That's
they
the
were
other thing, too.
stopping at the end, we're like, holy shit, Bigfoot's breaking their house. And then like I could just see those people, a lot of them people driving home in rural areas. You're driving through the woods. Once again, no street lights, there's no other car around. and like you're just you're driving slow because of deer, and like you're just looking at the woods like, is three-toed Squatch gonna come out and get me?
Three-toed squatch.
I watched him open a doorknob night.
I appreciate that he tried the door first. You
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
like
He's
he was
being-
just like, yeah,
being
let me just
respectful.
try and come through the front door first.
Well, I don't, and not for nothing, but let's all remember that this was not a Bigfoot because Bigfoot generally has 5 toes.
Oh,
and
I
this
don't know the
creature had
difference.
3 toes. I thought that was hilarious, their scientific method.
Yeah,
But also remember that Herb Jones shot off part of his foot
Yeah.
during a boating accident. I think we
Didn't
kinda
even
got
think
it.
about that.
And you
Dave.
know what? The other thing too,
conspiracy is what we're saying here.
the other thing people don't realize, they talk about being a 3-toed monster, but the old man Crabtree says he believes he shot in the foot. That's what slowed it down, and
Was he on a
didn't
boat?
get him in the beginning. Well,
Was he
they
on
didn't. They didn't clarify. So what I ask is, did it have 3 toes, or did old man Crabtree actually blow off part of its foot?
Knock a couple of them off.
Because he said, he goes, it was chasing back to his house. He said, I shot him. I know him in the leg or the foot because he stopped right there and just stared at me.
No,
I got off
no.
one more shot and I got in the house.
Is this like
Eli.
3-toed and 2-toed sloths? Because they're
Pretty
actually very
much.
different.
I don't know.
Pretty different. Well, Campfire Tales, Eli, are you doing the Monster of Boggy Creek? Is that what you guys are doing?
No.
Okay.
Well, it's I mean, do you want me to say
We'll
it?
get there.
No,
We'll
I
get
don't
there.
want to say it.
Okay,
I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it.
Coming later in the podcast. Keep
All right,
listening.
all right. Yeah,
So
all right, all right.
I did have this, and it kind of blew my mind when I looked this up. This is an interesting kind of tidbit about this movie. It was made in 1971, obviously. It was released in 1972. This movie had a budget of $160,000.
What did they spend it on?
Yeah, that's my question.
Well, this is what blew my mind because that seemed like a big number in the early 70s. Anybody want to guess what they made Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 years later for?
Wasn't it like 50,000?
It was 140,000. It cost more to make this movie than it did Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
That's talent over,
Exactly.
or
Just a different kind of style. Toby Hooper wasn't trying to make something to sell to Disney. He was doing something totally different. But it just blew my mind at what Toby Hooper and his team did with less
yeah,
money.
that's actually crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Well, I can
'cause,
probably
like,
tell you why this was more, because I'm telling you what the biggest costs were.
the book
Because
Bigfoot costume.
no, because Kevin Smith talks
studio
about
time
this.
to
Travis
record those songs.
Crabtree.
Kevin Smith.
He talks about this when he made Clerks. The biggest
I
cost
did
for
say
him.
Tusk.
No, the biggest cost for him was renting the cameras, the film,
Yeah, I can see
and
film.
renting the place to edit it. And the film was their worst enemy because they've never did anything before like this, and they kept fucking up their film and having to reshoot stuff. And so you have these hillbillies out in the woods fucking film this Bigfoot documentary with camera film. They don't know what they're doing. And I would bet money that's where majority of their money was for renting the cameras, renting the editing room, having someone teach them how to edit, because none of these clowns did. Getting that time in that recording booth, and then their actual film for it.
I'm pretty sure between Herb and Travis, they'd figure it out, though.
Listen, I don't
But
want
the guy making the movie is obviously into film. You're telling me
Yeah.
he doesn't.
but so
No.
was Kevin
But he didn't
Smith.
come
That was
from
his,
the
that was
film
his first.
industry.
Yeah, that was his first film.
Okay. So
But
this
yeah, that
guy-
was-
I
He
can tell
shows
you
up
where.
in-
Go ahead.
I was just saying, he shows up at the end of the movie, though, right? You
Yeah.
see him in the field.
Kevin Smith.
No.
Jesus Christ. What is
No.
what is this? Like all in the family hour?
It is now.
I
But
can
isn't-
tell you where they didn't spend the money.
Yeah.
It's on the actors.
Oh, for
Because
sure.
apparently, everybody who was in this movie had to sue the production team to get paid at all. And it took them 3 years in court
Oh
and
my
attorney
God.
fees to get paid, to the point that at the end of that, everybody who's in this movie made about $1,000. Guess how much money this movie had already made, though?
5 million.
20
Holy shit.
in the 70s. And they had to sue to get paid.
Well, I'm telling you what probably happened was he knew these people in this town. He was like, doubt we're gonna make any money, but I think this would be cool. And everybody's like, oh yeah. But he's like, listen, if we make money, can I use your land and stuff and like your house and whatever to film here? And if it makes money, then I'll give you what I can. People were like, oh yeah, sure. And then no one thought about it. So they're like, let's not make anything. And then all of a sudden they found out how big it's getting at the drive-ins. And they're like, well, holy shit. There, Travis, how much money you making there?
You know, I was in that movie.
Yeah.
there.
Like you hear those things go drive-ins.
I remember you did use my land. We were gonna hunt that day. We didn't hunt because you needed our land.
You know, my hound sprained his ankle in a couple of
Yeah.
scenes.
Yeah, and remember my cat. You made my cat scream a lot. And then you had to take my favorite stuffed cat, and we had to put them big teeth on it. And I'm just saying now it's ruined forever. I had to give my baby that cat back. She's scared to hold it. The big teeth on it.
Won't you let me hold $1 there, city boy?
Yeah, well, I mean, you did say you're gonna pay us for our time. Mhm.
No, it's crazy. I mean, first that it made that much money. And again, it made its money as a drive-through movie because he would just sell prints to drive-throughs. He would just sell them the prints. You'd run it as much as you want. We don't care. And he didn't have any advertising in it, but it's crazy how much the movie made.
I think he
How
had the
much he
same.
pocketed.
I think he did the same thing for the Town that Dreaded Sundown too. I think
Yeah,
that was
oh, yeah.
he did the same
Yeah,
process.
he found a formula that worked for him.
Yeah, and then he had the same issue where everybody was suing him because they didn't get paid.
Well, that you get that reputation pretty quick. Maybe that's why he didn't make anything else until he came back and made the second Legend of Boggy Creek.
Which that one
that
I would
blew
not
my
watch.
mind. I had no idea there was a sequel.
Well, did you know that there's a remake in 2010?
Oh Jesus Christ!
It's a
Who-
2000
I did not care for it either.
No.
It
Now,
was, and I
how
will
true
even
to-
say that movie was unwatchable.
Did
How
you
true
watch
to the
the
original.
direct? Not very. Let me tell you this: there was no Travis Crabtree song. I know that.
There were much more young ladies in
Yeah.
cut off jeans and bikini tops. I'll put it that way.
Okay. You
Fighting
got my attention.
Squatch. Did you watch the sequel, Dave?
No,
Not
not yet. I'm sure I will, but I haven't. Seen it.
The only thing I will say,
I just
is-
found this gem. It's
Yeah,
a whole
that's
new
true.
world. For me.
the only thing I'll say, it's almost like he watched Friday the 13th Part 2. He's like, that's something.
Wait
What
a
if
minute.
Squatch chases people in the woods?
What if he is a bad? And that does lead me to a question that's kind of frustrating. And I'm just a personal rant here, and I think Eli's on the same page. Why has Hollywood not given us a good Bigfoot movie? As I
You
was
know what?
watching this, I realized what
You guys are gonna hate me, and I'll tell you why. Because
'Cause
it's
he's
a dumb
terrible.
fucking character.
Jamie, come on now.
No, that's rude.
Sorry.
My heart.
That's
rude,
not
man.
true. They've given us one.
What?
Harry and the Henderson.
Correct.
Yeah.
You know what? Though that's more of a caricature Bigfoot. I want an
Oh,
accurate
okay.
Bigfoot. Okay. You know what? Dave, that's a good point because especially in this time of where we're just remaking and rebooting the same shit over and over again. And like, I get no one in Hollywood has original thought in their ass, but like, we have all these old lores and legends and stuff that I think could be cool movies. Don't
And how many
do it
UFO
like you
movies
did.
do we have? And you
Not
don't give me a
enough.
Bigfoot movie?
Right.
I
like,
just think I'm
don't
not
do
even.
what we did to antlers. Let's not use that as the example. But like, there's all these like cool creatures and like even like ghosts. Even if you want to go like ghosts or like supernatural shit, like there's so much cool stuff out there that people don't even realize is a thing. And instead, you're gonna give me the 11,000th reboot of this and bullshit like Chucky TV show and this and that and then you get like then you give James Wan money and he makes a piece of shit Maleficent or whatever the hell that garbage was
It's
and like
Malignant,
Malignant,
and
whatever,
Oh boy.
stupid.
I'll take
Like, I wish-
Malignant
that piece
over
of
half
shit
these things.
and then like
but-
you have Antlers like that piece of shit like just like
I'm telling you why. And I'm not trying to speak for the whole world. I'm just speaking for my niche, people who have same interests. Like, I don't think Bigfoot is scary. And I don't think they'd have to try really hard to make a compelling, and they have more luck with like aliens or big model. Let's make like Cloverfield because it's like this big monster can look like this, whatever. I just think personally, it would take a lot to make a Bigfoot scary. I don't think
think
it's
so.
a lumbering look. It just looks stupid.
Jamie,
It's too close to apes, and I don't like apes either. So
They just released a movie, Jamie, set in Africa where the big bad is
and
a
I did not see
lion.
it because it looks stupid,
were-
and I didn't want to watch a movie where they're trying to kill a lion. So
But they spent millions on that, and they can't give us a Bigfoot movie.
Yeah.
And I know John and I have talked about this last year. They released, and Hulu, screw Hulu first and foremost for the way they did this. They advertised that Sasquatch documentary as the final definitive thing on Sasquatches, and
You
It
know
was
what I
not.
would say?
I
Did you
felt
watch?
lied to and betrayed.
I never heard
Me
it. I
too.
didn't even hear
Oh,
this.
it's good, but yeah, no, it's a big
Has
betrayal.
nothing to do with Bigfoot.
There has been like, I mean, I do like this movie. There has been one. I found like there's some decent low budget Bigfoot movies that are good. Did you ever see Bobcat Goldthwait's Bigfoot movie?
No.
It's actually very good.
Really? What's
It's
it called?
very good.
Is it just called Bigfoot or
Oh man, I can't remember. No, it's something Creek.
Sam Squanch.
No, it's not Sam.
is it called
Squanch.
Boggy Creek?
No.
I'm just spitballing.
Bobcat.
Spitballing.
So I have one more. While he's looking that up, I've got one more piece of trivia that I want to share, and then we'll do
Willow
final.
Creek. It's called Willow
Willow
Creek.
Oh, I have heard of that. I haven't seen
It's
it.
very good. Very good.
Bobcat Goldthwait's in that.
He made it.
Oh, wow.
He's a Bigfoot hunter. That's what he when he quit acting.
Wow.
Of
He's-
course he is.
He's been searching for Bigfoot.
Of course.
Well,
how
good on you,
successful has he
Bobcat.
been?
Good luck,
Listen,
man.
he went through his juggalo phase for a while, where he was traveling around doing stand up for the ICP concerts. Honestly, he did that for a while after he kind of like got out of like the limelight. He did that for
Could-
years, and then
Considering where I'm at right now, being
Uh-huh.
close to Detroit, you think I would have known that? I had no idea.
well, when you're standing that far in the shade, sometimes you can't see the sun. And then so he did that for years, and then where he lives is like out in the wilderness, and like he said he saw Bigfoot, and then he started getting involved in all this stuff, and then he made Willow Creek, which is actually like really like I like Willow Creek a lot. It's actually it was surprisingly how good that movie's better than it has a right to be, considering Bobcat Goldthwait made it.
Well, I am putting it on the list, or confirming that it's already on the list.
I think I
There
put it
it
on the
is.
list.
It is on there. Cool. Okay. Any other last thoughts? My last piece of trivia that I did think it was important to note is because most people don't know this, but Arnold Schwarzenegger was actually supposed to play the role of Bobby Ford, but had to drop out at the last minute due to scheduling conflict. But can you
I
imagine
knew
that
it.
in this movie?
I can.
I like to play a game. Jeff and I play a game where we watch these movies and we go, "What would you do if you put Rambo in it?" And like, could you imagine this movie? Is that last scene? Like, they're like the people in the house, and Rambo kicks in the door with his big knife.
No,
Open the door.
no. When the monster reaches through the window and grabs him, he would just rip the arm off and beat him to death.
Oh
with
my
it.
God! It'd be listen. You know
You
what though?
might have had Jamie's attention with
Yeah,
that.
this is a movie I'd rather watch.
This is one movie I don't want Rambo in, I want to see Travis get in his little canoe, them sing that song about him watching fry his egg
Yeah.
in the
Just
world's
put a smile
shittiest
on your
canoe.
face.
Go
Go
talk
see
that
old
weird
Herb.
old
Old man Herb Jones.
pervert
Yeah,
lives in the creek bank.
bring him a little sugar.
I love it.
You know that's code, right?
Oh, I do know that. Hey,
You know, he gets
there's
lonely
a,
out in the woods out there.
there's a
boys.
reason why they tell you don't go down there to creek bank talk to old Mr. Jones. There's a reason he lives down there with no electric and no plumbing.
Was Counting Crows singing about this, Herb Jones?
They were not.
Mr. Jones.
They
Any
were
other
not.
last thoughts? I think we said all we can say about
Listen,
this.
I would just say this, everybody. Just
Oh,
give it a little chance.
No,
Let's just open
no.
up your
give
heart.
love a chance. It's
Just
gonna
I'm
be
open
trying
up
to.
your
I'm
heart.
trying to save
Let
everybody.
that childhood joy come in. Feel that.
it sounds like
kiss of
Eli
sun on
wants to
your
rate
cheek.
this thing, Dave.
he,
just-
he does.
Just let a little joy in your heart. Just give it a little chance.
Well,
Laugh with me.
I'm going to let him go first, but before we do, I am going to announce that we are changing up. We're switching up our rating system here on the Wicked Wild. No more FMK. We felt like that kind of run its course, so we are actually going back to our roots of being hiker trash and dirt bags, and going to use a little backpacking code terminology for our rating systems for a little while. So we're going to be using some terms that if you're a hiker, you know what we're talking about, or you should know what we're talking about. If you're not, no judgment. Here's what you need to know. So when you're hiking a trail, you've got the blazes that mark the trail, tell you where you're going, where you're supposed to be. Well, if you're a seasoned hiker, you may see those things, which are called blazes, and see an opportunity to use some code words to talk to your buddies while you're on the trail. So there are some well-established codes that are called blazes that we're going to use as our rating system. First and foremost is a blue blaze. A blue blaze is what signifies a spur trail off the main trail. It can go up to a water source or a waterfall or a scenic overlook or something like that. It's a nice little distraction from the main quest. So we could have a blue blaze movie that comes up. Then you can have a green blaze movie. A green blaze on the when you're hiking is when you are hiking under the influence. I'll put it that way. When you've smoked a little happy juice and you get a little altered state of consciousness. And sometimes you have a movie like that is just might be a little better if you change up your perspective a little bit. Then you have the pink blaze. Pink blaze for hikers is when you find somebody on the trail that piques your interest, that you might find attractive or otherwise interesting, and you change up your hike to chase them down and spend a little more time with them. Then you've got your yellow blaze. That's for cheaters. Yellow blazing is when you get off the trail and skip major mileage by hitchhiking. We know those kind of movies. Those movies that promise them that they never deliver. They're just cheaters. And then for Eli, we've got your brown blazes, and that's when you're just looking for a privy and waiting for it to be over. Just painful and unpleasant, and you just can't wait for it to end. And then obviously the summit, the pinnacle, the paramount of the kind of movie interest you might have is having it be trail family. It's those people you meet on the trail that just you hit it off with, that you share interests with, and you want to hike with. Those are the movies you want to keep around. So that's the shorthand for the kind of things you're going to hear tonight. And I'm going to let Eli tell us what kind of movie is Legend of Boggy Creek for you, my guy.
Listen, this is faux show, a trail family. This movie is beautiful. Listen, the world is a dark, dangerous place anymore. And this movie just kind of takes you back to something pure, simple. You're going to laugh. You're going to sing the Travis Crabtree song. You're going to look and see if you can get it as a ringtone. But you can't. But you're going to try. Like, this movie is just pure of joy and lighthearted goodness. It's like eating some hot popcorn, just good for your soul.
Just makes you
Everybody
happy.
should watch this at least once.
Part of the trail family. I got you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jamie, balance the scales here.
This is the shit blaze, and I need the brown
That
one.
sounds painful.
This should never be watched by anybody
Should-
ever.
Should not
Should
have
be
been made.
burned.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's harsh. All right, John.
Well, small caveat. I will give the Joe Bob drive-in version a Blue Blaze. It's a nice little scenic detour that I enjoy.
Exactly. Yeah, it didn't cost you much to go see it, and and that's kind of where I landed. I thought about this one for a while, and as I was considering our new rating system, at first I thought it would be a Blue Blaze, but the more I thought about it, this would probably be next level as a Green Blaze.
If
you got nicely toasted and sat back and let this movie wash over you, I bet I would laugh until my nose bled. I'm just gonna call that right now. It sounds like a good time.
Oh boy.
I'm going to have to maybe do some personal experimentation and see what happens there. But I'm going to call this one now. It's a Blue Blaze with high potential to become a fantastic Green Blaze experience. Any other thoughts?
I'm just wondering if I should get John a pair of sunglasses. He walked out there in the sunlight. So proud of you, big guy. I've never been more proud in my life.
Wow. Okay.
You know what? I'm not disappointed in you anymore.
Oh, okay.
Does he have a seat at the table there?
Well, let's not get carried away. He's still got to earn a spot.
Let's not go crazy.
We still got to earn a spot.
I mean, now can Dave and I meet up with you at the Sasquatch convention?
Ooh.
You know what? That'd be fine. I've been to a couple of those.
See, I can't go to those things because I always get misrepresented there. They assume I'm cosplaying. I'm like, no, this is just me. I'm just a hairy, awkward, introverted dude.
The honored guest finally showed up to the convention.
See, whenever I go to those things, you always get talking people, and there's some people like they'll be talking, and like you can just, and I'm sure you get this sense too, Dave, where you just look at them, and you go, I don't think you know how to spell the word wood, let alone have ever been in the woods. I don't think you've seen Sasquatch.
So thank you for tuning in and downloading this episode. It has been a fun one. And like I said, this is one that was totally not on my radar. This was a surprise for me, but I had a good time. I hope you had a good time listening to us talk about it. Whether we hated it or loved it, we at least had lots of interesting things to say about this film. So as we kind of teased earlier, Eli, hook us up with what are we going to be following up Legend of Boggy Creek on our Campfire Tales?
So they cover a lot of the legend in the movie. So, and I kind of want everybody to watch that. So, But this creature does fall in the Squatch family. It follows in the family of Sasquatch, your Bigfoots, your Grafton monsters,
Your
things
woolly
like
boogers.
that. Your woolly boogers, your booger men. So I thought we would look at some of the top conspiracy theories involving Bigfoot that's come out over the years.
Ooh, like the creme de la creme.
Like, listen, some of these could be dangerous. Just know it.
Wow.
Yeah, could be dangerous. Just know it. Jeff and I had to go into some dangerous places to get this information. We risked our lives.
Okay.
Sadly, they did not sing a Travis Crabtree song about us. But I'm thinking, John, you got in the sun like that. You need to get yourself a little flute and start writing some music for us.
It wasn't necessarily the dark web, but it was probably closer to the snark web regions.
Listen, all I'm saying is there are some websites men are not meant to go on.
That's a fact.
And we had to go out to the wasteland. I traversed the void for you fine people, so that way you can get the real truth when it comes to our friendly, maybe not so friendly, hiding hairy friends in the woods.
So not TikTok where you usually get your information
Oh,
from.
and it wasn't conspiracy TikTok.
You know what's weird? There's not a lot about Bigfoot on TikTok.
On TikTok? Oh,
What?
It's weird.
surprising.
Yeah,
The demographic is not. There's no crossover there.
You know why I think it is? Because like there were some other cryptids on there. Now
Chinese government doesn't believe.
It's like everything's about like kind of. I think it's because of the UFO stuff. It's about like aliens, like interdimensional stuff.
Yeah, because those are trendy.
People fighting it. Yeah. I really enjoy indigenous TikTok because some of those people talk about. There's some creators that talk about like skinwalkers and stuff like that, but surprisingly, just not a lot about Bigfoot. The only Bigfoot I've seen on TikTok is that fucking beef jerky company that's still just riding Bigfoot's dead corpse selling beef jerky.
That's
I'm not even gonna
Jack
say.
Link's.
I wasn't gonna say their names because they don't deserve it. They used to be funny. They're just not funny anymore.
Well-
They murdered Bigfoot and they keep beating his dead corpse with a big stick of jerky. They just need to quit.
Well, then I've got a gift for you, and I can't believe that you didn't know about this social media page, but you particularly need to go and follow Bigfoot Bay. I think it's right up your alley.
Bigfoot what?
Bay, B-A-E, Bigfoot Bay.
Wait, I've seen their Twitter.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh no, I know Bigfoot Bay.
Okay. Well, you said you didn't see any Bigfoot. I mean,
I was talking about on TikTok.
that's the top show. Oh yeah, she's on TikTok, or they are.
Yeah,
on
but like
TikTok.
that's not.
Come on now.
He's looking for the truth.
Listen, I'm
not-
looking
not
for.
the
Listen,
funny.
what they do is very good. Don't get me wrong. I'm talking about like truth. Like I'm talking
Okay.
about like the real truth. Okay.
Okay. All right.
I'm out here looking for Bigfoot. Either he needs our help or we need to stop him. I'm not sure which one yet.
Well, I do appreciate the hard work that you and Jeff put in for our Campfire Tales. It sounds like it's going to be a fun one. I am looking forward to learning more and hopefully being a part of kind of what you got going on there. Sounds like it'd be a good time. Time to get into some wackiness like our Skinwalker Ranch and Mole King videos and those kind of things.
Oh
I think I'm ready.
Oh,
So-
you don't know.
As I mentioned, this is our last of our regular season programming. Next week, we're going to be jumping into Camp Wicked Wild, which you've heard us a couple of times talk about. We couldn't be more excited to kind of have a special event for spooky season. We kind of thought about and put some time into making something special to show all of our listeners how much we appreciate you and make it a little more fun. So here's a little more detail about what we're going to be doing next week and in the following week. So we're going to be doing a movie and a campfire tale every week of October. So you're going to get double the Wicked Wild for the month of October. So you're welcome, first and foremost. And then also we are going to have guest hosts each week. So either from other podcasts or friends of our podcast that are going to be on to kind of talk with us. If you've seen on Twitter, we've got our limited edition shirt design for the event, which I think is one of the coolest designs we've had so far. You've got your Mothman on there, you got your Bigfoot on there, and you got your Gill Man. Got something for everybody. Everybody should have something on there. So anyway, speaking of the limited edition shirts, we're also going to be having giveaways each week for our listeners. So I'm going to be giving you a cue on the podcast recording. Nowhere else will I be giving you information about it. get that cue, do what I ask you to do within that, you could win an opportunity to get a $25 credit on our store to buy whatever merchandise you might want.
Can one of us win?
No.
What if I have a twin I've never mentioned before?
Yeah, if I get something from Elu.
No.
Black.
Okay, first off, how dare you? His name's Beli, okay? Name's Beli, and he's a real twin.
He's
The
real.
real twin.
Not one of those fake twins.
He just happens to live at the same address you do, right?
Well, I mean, I get his mail because he does not live in what you would call a conventional address.
So I'm on to you. No, you can't win. Employees are not qualified to win in our promotions.
I see how you are. Beli will not be pleased.
The other fun thing you're going to see is we're going to actually be posting a video for each of our podcasts for the Camp Wicked Wild. You're going to get a video to see our faces, see some of the expressions, see some of our cueing to each other that we do on these podcasts. So you'll get a sort of inside baseball look at kind of what we do here on the Wicked Wild. Hope you enjoy that. And last but not least for Camp Wicked Wild, I want to announce what we're doing to kick things off. And next week, we are jumping in with Cabin in the Woods. Going to get started strong with a movie that some of us have a fond memory of. And our guest host is going to be none other than Caitlin, who you heard on a Midsummer episode from Plug It Up Podcast. So we can't wait to do that with her. So you've heard me a couple of times mention our social media, which is Twitter. It's only Twitter at this point. At Wicked Wild, we are on Twitter. And I owe, and it kills me to have to say this, I owe Eli a apology because the more I researched and the more I dealt with the meta universe people about the snafu with their Instagram and tried to jump through all their loops and just got run around the friggin' tree. And then I realized that Mark Zuckerberg, if you move around the letters in his name, his name actually means I am your lizard god.
I told you. I
am
Wait.
so sorry, dude.
Wait, does that mean, Dave, are you looking to get a seat at the table?
I am disenfranchised at the moment. I'm going to stay free agent. We'll see what happens.
All I'm going to say is, Dave, if you want to go hog wild, the Mole King always has a seat at the dirt table.
So all of that to say, no, we are not on Instagram. No, we are not on Facebook, nor will we ever be. The nice thing about being outdoorsy people that are independent and don't care for humans in general anyway, is losing social media really had no impact on us. It really didn't affect our chill at all. So
I'd rather them not know where I'm at.
Exactly. But just if you are wanting to follow us, we're only on Twitter, so you can get us on there. Subscribe and rate the show, as we always say. Try and give us a rating of 4 or 5. Otherwise, I really think the problem might be you. I think you might need to work on your attitude, because we're bringing it 110% every week. I don't know.
Dave, it's like you and I fell in love all over again. What I've literally been saying our whole lives.
If you want to learn more about The Wicked Wild, you can visit our website at thewickedwild.com, see our store. We've got other reviews of books and movies and stuff on there as well. If you want to send us in questions and thoughts, you can send us an email at podcast@thewickedwild.com. And I will get those. And if it's interesting, we'll put it on the podcast, or I'll just answer your question and give you whatever information you're wanting. Anything else, ladies and gentlemen? Well, on that then.
I'm not disappointed anymore.
Oh, man. That means a lot. I'm going to sleep.
It's just me.
Well,
you're just disappointed in me now?
maybe one day you'll step out of the sunlight.
Maybe some of us like to just be different.
Yeah. Back to that hating people. I mean, it really has no impact, right, Jamie?
Oh, Eli's opinion of me? No.
I'm just saying, when the people come and someone's looking to hide in the Mole Kingdom.
We've been through this. I'm not living in the
might be
dirt.
close.
It's fine.
So it's looking real nice. We got tree roots in there now. It's chairs.
True.
I think Jamie's been very clear on her decision to embrace death if it ever comes to that. Just And as we always say to close out every episode, remember to get lost, because it may be the only place you can find yourself. Y'all have a good night.